Welcome back to Studio F, where on Fast Times Willy B, we'll be reviewing the Blair Witch Project for 25th anniversary. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russell!
Welcome back to Fast Times Willy B. I'm Willy B. I got Turbo back. Turbo, how we doing?
Hello, how are you? I'm doing well.
I'm doing well as well.
Good to finally be back.
Yes.
Been kind of an elusive guest for you.
What, the very first episode?
That's right, pioneer. I'm like the, I guess the Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
Of
Fast Times guests.
I was gonna say of Studio F.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
You helped me pick out the quote that I say before every episode, so.
I'd say that's your quote, buddy. That's not mine anymore. That's yours.
You are a pioneer in Fast Times with Willy B, but good to have you back. And today, we'll be celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Blair Witch Project.
Yes. You want to feel old.
Came out, it was a limited theatrical release in the United States on July 14th, 1999. So the technical mass release, I think, would have been July 30th, but we're gonna go with the limited release.
Yep.
As its 25th anniversary here. It was even released before that at the Sundance Festival.
I was going to say, I was aware of the Sundance because I saw it on the limited release, believe it or not. I am old enough to have actually seen this movie in theaters.
Yeah, but 25 years old, all of those, doesn't matter the date, we're 1999, so we got 25th anniversary. Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez are the two directors in this one, and it's really, you get a lot of those interviews at the beginning, but it's really a cast of three.
Absolutely.
And that's Heather Donahue, Joshua Leonard, and Michael Williams, which we got Mike, Josh, and Heather.
Yep.
They go by their real names in this. And, you said you got to experience this in theaters. Let's start with the good, and I know something you have in the good is the marketing and everything like that. When you are first introduced to the movie and you see the cast list is the same names as the actors and all of this, you're almost convinced that this movie's real.
Can I be 100% honest with you?
Uh-huh.
This was before IMDb. This was very early days of the internet.
Mm.
So there were literally pamphlets at my local video store, which was a Video Time. Shout out to Video Time and Video Safari.
Hell yeah.
I was big time attendee there. But they had pamphlets that were at the front counter that were missing pamphlets.
Okay.
Of three kids. It was like the old style milk box crate.
Yeah.
And there was a website at the bottom of it. And they would put those pamphlets into everybody's boxes or their bags when they were checking out.
Yeah.
The idea being that America Online was so new that when you'd get home, obviously the kids are gonna check this out.
Yeah.
Let's see what this shit is.
Yeah.
Well, the website when you logged on gave you a background story as to what exactly the Blair Witch Project was. And in my opinion, this is where arguably, at least in my opinion, some of the smartest marketing in horror film history took place.
Yeah. Because
on that website, they lied essentially to every consumer and said that these are real people.
Yeah.
These are real students from a real college, and they were doing a real film project.
Yeah.
They were going to do this documentary entitled The Blair Witch Project, and this essentially is the last known footage of their lives.
Yeah.
And we found this.
And that's awesome, too, because before this, I mean, you could say this is, the founding father of found footage. Because obviously now we're in 2024, this movie's 25 years old, and found footage has been done over and over again, and there are a few great ones that have come out since this movie. There's found footage movies that I like more than this movie.
Absolutely.
Hell House LLC is one that comes to mind.
I was going to say...
Deadstream, a couple years ago, another one that comes to mind.
There's a few, like you said, that are very, very well done.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that you're necessarily in the minority that don't have highly huge regards, I guess, for this movie.
Yeah.
Is it Shakespeare? No. I'm not going to pretend that I'm going to say, no, you don't understand, dude. It's like, it's high art and you just don't get it. No, you get it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's either your cup of tea and you appreciate it or you don't.
Yeah. But even if you don't love this movie, which I wouldn't say I love this movie, you got to give it its respect where respect's due. It introduced almost a genre to horror and made it mainstream for a little bit, and there's still found footage movies being made.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. We were actually just talking a little bit earlier. Some of the ones that you were just mentioning right there are excellent.
Yeah.
Found footage things. Some of the VHS stuff.
Paranormal Activity.
Which
we have 8 of those now.
But that's another very, very smart marketing. Theoretically, the budget for those movies is nothing.
Yeah.
And even back then, okay, how are we going to shoot? Well, we don't really need film.
Yeah.
Let's go with a handy cam, like a Sony handy cam.
Yeah.
And we don't need permits because we're out in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
I mean, this is genius.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's very well thought out. It's smart. The marketing was great. And there are a few scenes that really stick with you, too, after this one. A big one's the tent scene. I think that's the most tension you feel in this entire movie. And there's tension throughout in various different ways, especially, given the dynamic of the friend group as time goes on and they realize we might not make it out of the woods.
Right.
But that tent scene, when you hear... There's nothing scarier than being in the middle of nowhere, not knowing where you're at, in the dark, and you start hearing, children laughing and talking, and then your tent starts shaking.
The baby screaming.
Yeah.
And, I absolutely agree. I'm glad you actually brought that up. That is, in my opinion, one of the best scenes in the movie. I think unanimously across the board, for anybody going into this movie, this was probably the highest of the payoff scenes.
Yeah.
Where it was like, this is why we're here. This is exactly what we thought this movie was going to be. And frankly, it scared the shit out of a lot of people, myself included. I want to say I was 14, maybe 15 when this movie came out. I think I was 14. But I can remember watching that scene specifically, the tent scene, and when she's running through the woods and she's screaming, "What the F is that?"
Yeah.
I remember there was a big woman next to me who was on the edge of her seat, and she audibly said, "What the fuck is it?" And it was palatable.
Yeah.
I remember that was the main feeling in that theater that I got during that scene specifically. It was tense. Everybody was just waiting.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Everybody thought that they were going to see. Everybody, including myself, thought that we were going to see more than we did.
Yeah. I think that seeing this in theaters might have enhanced the experience, but my first watch with this was with a group of friends at their house. We were in the pitch black, so we had that layer of, we're not watching this in broad daylight.
Right.
But I think maybe in theaters it hits a little harder, and I think another thing that may have helped it is if this was the first found footage movie I'd seen.
Oh, yeah,
because going into this, a lot of people's first watch of this was their first experience of found footage.
That's a really good point, honestly.
I mean, I've seen most of the Paranormal Activities before I watched this movie. I saw Hell House LLC, which is a phenomenal found footage movie.
It is really good. The first one.
Yes. Yeah. The one that came out last year was solid, too. The fourth one.
I had not seen that.
It's almost like an origin story. The second and third one we don't have to talk about.
Yeah, I saw the second and third one. They were on Shudder a while back, and I was not a huge fan of those.
Seeing all of those found footage before this might have, taken away from my first watch in this one.
Colored your vision a little bit.
Yeah.
Because this wasn't groundbreaking for you.
No, it wasn't. And, seeing this in theaters in '99 definitely would have been like, holy shit,
Yeah, there were a few scenes, especially even the home, because I have a home theater, but even that they play around a lot with directionality, I guess.
Yeah.
Like when you're hearing the crackling and when Josh is screaming in the one scene.
Yeah.
They play a lot on direction.
Yeah.
And if you feel very disoriented.
Yeah.
Because you can't see anything, you can't really hear anything.
Yeah.
It's just, this doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Another scene that really stuck with me was the scene where she finds that shirt that's all tied up, and she opens it and it's human teeth.
The bundle outside of her tent.
And all you can really assume is that it's Josh's teeth.
Yep.
Because it's right after he goes missing, and it's right after you hear his screams.
Yep, there's a nice little puddle in there too.
Yeah.
That is a very, very eerie scene, because... all right, now, I want to ask you something.
Okay.
If you and I were at a camping trip, and you found one of our friends' tongue and teeth outside of our tent, I would certainly hope that you would tell me.
Oh, yeah.
Because she didn't tell him. She went down to the river and she washed her hands off, and she just sort of... internalized it and didn't tell him.
Yeah.
You bet your ass I'd be telling you. I'd be like, Will, there's some teeth down there, and I think that they're Keaton's. There's teeth down there, and I think that's what's happening, and we got to get the fuck out of here now.
Yeah, I would
Pardon
hope,
my French, I'm sorry. We gotta edit that out.
You're good. I would hope that it goes both ways for sure, that I would hope that's kind of a messed up thing to do. And that's where I'm a little like, this friend dynamic is really weird that, obviously Heather and Josh knew each other, but she's just meeting Mike. I'm like, this is an insane project to go on with somebody you don't really know.
Exactly. Mike is putting a lot of trust. I mean, I understand that these are fictitious people, but theoretically, Mike is putting a ton of trust into these people having scouted the project, know how to get in and out, like... Yeah, he's giving a lot of control over the situation.
Yeah,
and the friend, like you said, the friend dynamic, it's just strange.
Yeah,
because Heather and Josh are familiar with each other, but I wouldn't necessarily call them friendly.
Yeah, for sure. Another good I have is, the way this movie is shot is obviously in the found footage style. You have the handheld cameras where they took them from school and didn't say anything, but is it like going to be as spectacular as watching a movie that's on, film that's going to be in IMAX? No, obviously not. No. That's how this movie's supposed to be, and I think it's done really well.
Right.
I think the found footage aspect is done well.
I think it's a deliberate choice, obviously. You don't have to have a ton of money to pull that look off. But that slightly heightened gamma gray scale of the Super 8... I believe it's... Maybe, I don't think it's 16 mil. I think they're shooting on Super 8.
Okay.
But when they go into the basement and how all the shadow details are sort of boosted because of that camera...
Yeah.
To me, that makes that look even more creepy. That basement in black and white is much scarier than that Sony Handycam.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was shot well. I don't have a lot... I mean, the acting was good. I'll give them that, because you are sold that this is real life, and I know you have a little bit of more on the background of how it was made and what they did to make it feel authentic.
Right.
But the acting was pretty good. From three people that haven't really done anything since or before this.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they want to or if they just... Because I feel like there would be offers on the table for them, because they're not bad. None of them are bad.
No. But yeah, like just hearing after like the extreme conditions that the directors would put them into.
Long hours.
Yeah, to make it feel more authentic, almost Stanley Kubrick-esque.
He got what he wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, the tension between the little snippy sort of... Because from my understanding of it, the clothes that he was giving them, he was allowing them to be wet a little bit.
Yeah.
So they'd be a little bit wet, a little bit cold. The food that he was giving them was... The amount was going down per day. Mm-hmm. They're hungry. They're cold. They're done with this. Like, we're done. I want to be out of here.
Yeah.
That needs to come across.
Yeah.
And it did, I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, those people, like, that panic... When she's screaming, if we get hurt or if we die out here, it's your fault. That was for real.
Yeah. No, that was all good. But that's really all I have for the good. You might have a little more than me, because I know you tend to enjoy this one a little more than I do.
As far as the good, we talked about the marketing, we talked about the acting. I want to talk about kind of, I guess, piggybacks on the acting, but the casting.
Okay.
Not only the main three, specifically side characters that we all remember. Mary Brown. Yeah. The creepy old woman that lives in the trailer park that comes out and... It's a spooky story. Yeah. And she's just very creepy, and she's talking about run-ins with the Blair Witch, giving this story notoriety as we lead up to it. Everything is just building and building and building.
The interviews are good. I definitely should put a mention in that, because the one that always stuck out to me was the mother that was telling the story, and the daughter's like, no, and covering her mouth. Yeah. Like, just kind of adding to the, like...
Yep, a spooky... Yeah, she says, it's not real. It's real. Yeah. Side note, that daughter picks her nose and puts it on her mom's mouth.
Nice.
If you go back and watch that film, we can run it back right after this, and I'll show you.
Hell yeah.
Kudos to that mom for not gagging and finishing the story. Yeah. But yeah, that definitely. And then even when that contractor, the construction worker dude, was like, "Oh, my grandma used to tell us that if we didn't go to bed, the Blair Witch would come and kill us or come and get us." That minor world building to me goes a long way in this movie.
Yeah,
it doesn't really have any other devices. Yeah, storytelling devices, so it has to utilize small things like that, and I think it did it exceptionally well.
For sure. Is there anything else that really stuck out to you in the good?
Just the theater experience. Yeah. Everybody's gonna remember the time that where when I went and saw it, I was with this person. I was this old. Mainly that.
Okay, so we'll hop over to the med then. And I feel like obviously I'll have more of a presence here. First, I'd probably put, at moments this movie can get really boring, and it tends to feel a lot longer than an hour and 18 minutes.
I agree.
When I was going to watch it before we were recording this, and I saw it was an hour and 18, I was like, that cannot be right, because I remember this movie just feeling so
like an hour,
long.
like hour and 50 minutes or something.
Yeah, just feeling so much longer than that. Not feeling like 3 hours, but feeling longer than an hour and 18. And when I watched it again, I was like, yeah, it still feels long. But it's just because there's moments where nothing's really going on, and it's tough. What do you feel there? I guess I just expected it to be, because going into this movie when I watched it the first time, and even I had always been told how scary it was, and it felt like there wasn't that much. And then I think the lack of not seeing anything also kind of played into that. You don't see the Blair Witch. It never pops up on the screen. And I think that's why the tent scene stands out so much, because what you hear and what you see with the tent rattling and the teeth.
It's tangible.
Yeah, but outside of that, it's just a bunch of sticks crossed up and piles of rocks.
Yeah, and
so
build up.
I guess that kind of was disappointing.
I honestly would agree. As far as the man, like I just want to piggyback on the man point, because I would agree.
Not that it's bad.
No. But what, to me, what I guess would be sort of a clever. Like, I absolutely understand. Like, for mainstream audiences, we didn't see much. We didn't see anything. We didn't hear much.
Yeah. So you're not going into it the hype,
But I, in my opinion, is them sort of trying to do Hitchcock, where what I see and what I am thinking about is out there is much scarier than whatever they can show me.
That's fair.
But I understand there needs to be a little bit more of a payoff. We got to get a.
I was hoping the ending would give us that.
Right, like I can understand as an audience member being like.
Yeah.
That was it?
Because the ending is another thing I throw in the man. It's because for a little while I thought it was good. I liked, the screams from Heather upstairs while Mike is walking downstairs. They're in this spooky house. You talked about it. The shots are really well done.
The kids' handprints, man.
Yes, the handprints. But then when the movie, they both get pulled down, their cameras just go black, and there's no payoff of, like, what was it? And yes, I get it, like, bring it to your imagination, but...
Do you think it was Rustin? Or do you think it was the Blair Witch?
I mean, I'd imagine it's the Blair Witch.
Because remember the story they were telling earlier in the movie about the guy who's killing people, and, that, to me, was one of the that's why I was kind of segueing. When we come upon that house, that is one of the most intense build-ups, I think. But we don't really know, is that Rustin Parr's house? Is this... Okay, so we're sort of to assume that this is the house where all the murders happened, because all the handprints and all that stuff, which I get it. But then why the Blair Witch?
Yeah.
I guess... To me, the writing was a little clunky there.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also where you see the budget come out to play.
Yeah.
Because obviously this movie, on a small budget is really well done as far as, like, using your advantage in found footage, taking advantage of that and all of that. But not seeing what happens to them on screen or seeing what did it kind of tells me, like, okay, maybe it wasn't in the budget to allow it. You know what I mean?
Right. Have you seen? I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Have you seen? There are 3 alternate endings.
Okay, I have not seen any of them.
I encourage anybody watching this, and you as well, just to make up your mind which one you prefer. Mm-hmm. None of them are fantastic. They're all pretty similar in like the abruptness.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that happen that make you sort of go, okay, so it was because there's a scene where he's elevated in the corner.
Yeah.
He's not on the ground.
Yeah.
So clearly
that I probably would have liked more.
We're to establish that there's a paranormal element to this, and that would have been a little bit more jarring, I think, for people.
Yeah,
like,
for
whoa.
Sure. Yeah. The other mad I have is when Mike admits to throwing the map into the water. Because I get it.
That son of a bitch.
I get it to an extent in the sense that, like, you feel like it's not working. There's tension between the group. It's in the moment. Fuck it. Throw it in the water. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, that is so stupid.
I don't think anybody would do that.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody would do that.
And
honestly.
then how the friends reacted, like, obviously they're very pissed. I'm sorry if, talking about this hypothetical trip that me, you, and Keaton are apparently going on. If one of you throw the map in the water...
You're following it.
No, I'm probably grabbing a rock and whopping you upside the head.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're going in after that map.
Well, yeah, that too, if I know you did it in the moment you did it. But, like, that is... I don't know. It was just something when they did it, I was like...
That's like attempted murder.
I'm like, dude, it's carrying on the plot. I get it, but, like, I don't get it because I would hope that nobody I ever go on a trip would do that. I know I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think anybody who is in a dire situation like this, where it's like, listen, we have to get out, and our literally our survival depends on it. I don't think you're gonna make little decisions where it's, spiteful little kick the map in because Heather has us out here. I don't think the survival situation anybody would work like that.
No, but that's really all I have in the mat. It's just it's kind of a slow burn for me, even though it's an hour and 18 minutes, and I guess the payoff isn't what I expected.
I can absolutely respect that. If you watch it multiple times, I have one more meh for it.
Yeah.
Heather is infuriating.
I actually have her in the bad. Her character, not her acting.
Well, no, her acting is fantastic, which is why I bought. I'm not going to say it's bad because she does what she's supposed to do.
Yeah.
But if you watch this and then in 2 days you want to show it to somebody and watch it again, it's a little bit of a chore to listen to Heather.
Oh, 100%.
She's a nightmare.
Yeah, we can hop over to the bad. I know you said this is more of your meh, but the only bad I have in this movie is Heather. I think the character of Heather is bad. You're asking a lot of these two guys... And you're kind of being a jerk a lot of this movie.
She's very much headstrong. Well, I'm not going to say it. People will say she's being headstrong. I'll say she's just being crass and disrespectful to these two guys.
Honestly. And I don't know. And she's almost cringy.
You mean like as far as like the performance?
Not like the performance. It's just some of the writing on Heather's character is cringy. Like the... Oh, hey, Mr. Punctuality. Like...
Oh, how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just some of it's, I'm like, nobody's saying that.
I did like the get back, though, that Josh had on her.
Yeah.
When he was filming her.
Yeah.
Because that was infuriating. And I think that Mike nailed it when he says, we don't have to have every conversation. Like, why are you filming this?
Yeah.
We don't need to have every conversation on tape. And she says, well, I just need to document this because we're going to look back and laugh at it.
Yeah.
No, you're just trying to be a smartass.
Yeah.
And, like, these guys... I mean, nobody was an angel here, let's be real.
No, nobody was. But her character was easily the most infuriating.
Yes.
It makes it hard to watch at moments. The one scene that I do like of her is when she's almost apologizing to the video. And
that's sad.
It's the movie poster. Mm-hmm. Her eye, like, you just see, like, basically here up. Like, just... And that's probably her best scene, but, like, a lot of this movie, I'm just like, man, I can't do it with her.
I like that scene a lot. To me... Her monologues are exceptional. The whole, this is Burkittsville, formerly Blair.
Yeah.
There are an unusual amount of children laid to rest here. That whole monologue is fantastic.
Yeah.
The way that she reads the book about Coffin Rock
Yeah.
in that cave thing.
Yeah.
It's almost the way like a 911 dispatcher. Like there's not much by way of emotion or empathy. It's just very matter of fact, but she is exceptional at making you feel like this is very real. Mm-hmm. I will give her that.
That's fair. And like when she's reading the book too, that's a scene where I was always confused when she's reading the book and it's like cutting and doing different shots because like this is a found footage movie, but that scene's edited.
Yeah, it's edited with that Super 8, so it's like who's doing the editing?
Yeah. So like that's an inconsistency, I guess you could say, because if this is found footage and you're not, some found footage they have interviews in between that are obviously edited in by the people that found the footage.
Right.
Hell House LLC does that. But this movie, they were going after this like this is the raw found footage.
Right.
But then that scene's edited, and I'm like,
I think especially in 1999, I don't think audiences were as hip to like the process, or like wise to the process, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, oh, okay, like that was just must have been on the reel that they had. I don't know.
Yeah, but that was just another scene that's.
But yeah, I totally agree. Where it's like, well, now wait a minute now, because that's very clearly edited just together.
Doing a monologue over B footage, like B-roll.
Right. Now, it would be one thing if it showed her with, like, the boom mic.
Yeah.
And she was just sort of speaking into it as he was filming, because then that would make sense. This is almost like a live situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, she was not. She was...
standing there, because it starts with her standing there holding the book.
Right.
But that's really all I have in the bad. There's nothing like... I think a lot of this movie falls into the meh for me, but there is still a lot of redeeming good.
I think you can still scare...
Which you'll see in my score.
Yeah. I mean, I still... people who aren't seasoned horror fans, I still would put this up there against most things. It'll scare the shit out of most people.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll hop over to our final thoughts and rating. What do you want to leave off with the Blair Witch Project, and what do you give it out of 10?
What I would like to leave off with, a lot of good memories. It just takes me back to a time when life was a little bit more simple.
Yeah.
You could just watch a movie and laugh, and there didn't have to be intricacies and commentaries and too deep looking. It wasn't under a microscope as much. It was sort of just the experience.
Yeah. And
right, wrong, or indifferent, I think a lot of people had fun with it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people enjoy that movie.
For sure.
Out of 10, I would probably give it a 7.5 or 8.
7.5 or 8? What do you want to land on in this moment?
As far as what?
Like, if after this last watch, what were you feeling more, that 7.5 or that 8?
I would probably say 8.
Okay.
Just probably based on nostalgia.
Yeah, for sure.
I know that. I'm aware of that.
No, that's fair. I mean, some of my favorite movies probably aren't a 10 out of 10, but it's something you grew up with. And,
it's one of those things. Like I said, we talked about it earlier. It paved the way. Because
for sure.
Theoretically, if this was not successful, we would not have the subgenre.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? This was the Godfather of found footage, I guess.
Yeah. For me, I liked the second watch a little more. I think it didn't feel as slow. That tent scene hit a little harder this time too. So the first time I watched this, I was actually like in between a 5.5, but I think I'm gonna land on a 6.5 for this one.
Okay.
I'm gonna land on a 6.5. Like you said, you have to give it the respect it deserves as far as starting this subgenre. There is a lot of good. There are some tense moments. It's just the overarching story and Heather's character and
the payoff.
The payoff just makes it hard to give it higher than what I give it. It makes it hard to put it in that 7 or higher. Because for me, I'd probably just say this is a decent movie.
Okay, which is fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I don't think in general found footage stuff isn't everybody's cup of tea. It's not generally mine. I don't. Yeah.
And I totally agree with that.
I don't think either one of us go, oh hell yeah, like there's a new found footage movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's
there's a few that stick out, but there's a lot where I'm like, yeah, I could have done without that.
Yep. I think everybody tried to bottle that magic up, and they didn't have the writing, and they didn't have the concept, and Yeah, it takes a lot to do a good one.
Yeah, but nonetheless, this is worth the watch.
Absolutely.
25 years old. Give it a watch for its anniversary.
You want to feel old.
But yeah, I mean, it started it all. So
Absolutely.
got to give it a little bit of respect there, you know.
For sure. I give it tremendous, copious amounts of respect, if you will.
This is like, you know, people talk about Halloween being like the big one for slashers.
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously, you know, before that you got Psycho and you got Black Christmas, and Halloween pulled a lot of inspiration from those ones. But, you know,
That was the one.
did a lot for slashers because the 80s just took off with it.
Right.
And there's people in my friend group that are like, I don't see what you see in this movie, but I do give it its respect in the sense that we wouldn't have what we have in that genre if it weren't for Michael Myers and that fateful night in Haddonfield. And that's what Blair Witch Project did, you know? Albeit I don't see the hype. Maybe it's because I saw a lot of found footage before it, but I still give it that respect because, like you said, where is that subgenre at without this film?
Right.
So
that would be my main takeaway for the Blair Witch Project as well.
For sure. That'll do it for the Blair Witch Project. Turbo, thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on,
For
my
getting
friend.
back here.
Thank you guys for watching.
Yes, thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, please check out some of these other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. Check out the Blair Witch Project for its 25th anniversary if you haven't already. Let us know what you think of the movie in the comments below, and we will talk to you all soon. Peace.
Peace.